to the scripture.
Yeah, I said I would start this. We had 2 scriptures to go along with this, and the first one was Exodus 28, which we did talk about Dad making a Sabbath. That was when, in the commandments, that take the Sabbath and keep it holy. And Dad did not work on Sundays unless it was an absolute emergency. Mm-hmm. And he took the Sabbath. The Sabbath was for church, it was for rest, and it was for his family. Mm-hmm. And the second one we have is Hebrews 10:25. And it says, let us not forsake the assembling of ourselves together. And so that is the gathering of the church, of the people in the church together. And what I wanted to mention about that, because we've specifically kind of narrowed it down to a time frame of our life and growing up with Dad.
That's really formative years.
And the formative years, that's a good word for it. But the assembling of together, we had a great group of friends who were actually our parents' friends, but they were from our church. And so this is the group of people that we ate lunch with at Western Sizzlin. We ate dinner with, because at the time there was Sunday night church. And we were with these families all the time. We went to public school. Nancy Jo went through up to middle school. I was in the 2nd grade, and then our parents made the decision to put us in a private Christian school. But the thing for me is that your children are with unchurched families, or they have more access to secular language, secular decisions, all these things. So to me, it was good, because the things that I was learning at home from my parents, I also saw in our church families and their friends.
Right.
So we didn't have alcohol in our home. Our parents made the decision that there's no alcohol in our home. But when we would go out to eat with these other church families, that was a common theme amongst
there were bars,
them. Yes. They didn't drink either. So then I was like, okay, well, we're not weird, because these families, she's having Diet Coke and sweet tea. This is a normal thing. And then as I got, to be older and more adult, I realized, wow, we were the weird ones. I didn't realize that it was such an odd thing that people didn't, that you only have sweet tea when you go out to eat. But as looking back, I'm so thankful that the families that we were around, that our parents made sure that we had a common understanding and a common ground, so that the things that they're teaching us at home, I'm also seeing in other families. And so now, as an adult, I can make my own decisions, which I still choose not to have alcohol in my life. And I can find other common ground friends that have that. So not forsaking the gathering, or do not forsake the assembling of yourselves together, is about, to me, having those relationships in your church. Not you can build on friendships and build on relationships, because the church is so much more than a pastor and his staff. Mm-hmm. You're bonding children and moms and moms, and like Nancy Jo's little boys, you kind of look and see who's their same age, because that's who they're going to be in youth group with.
That's right.
That's who they're going to go on missions trips with, and it's so important. And so that's mom and dad had couples, and a lot of them weren't necessarily, they didn't have kids our age, but we were around those people every Sunday and having dinners throughout the week. And those were good relationships. I still think of those men and women as my aunts and uncles. We're still very close, because that's who we surrounded ourselves with, and it was a good thing.
Right. Well, and that point is so important and so valid, in that it solidified what we were taught at home, and really showed it in everyday life and in actual practice. And this is what this looks like. This is why we are the way that we are. And if you go back in the Old Testament and you read about the Hebrew traditions and what the Jews did and how they kept their families, and really you were only around people that did it that way. They were so very careful with their children to be sure that they trained them right in the word of the Lord and who he was. And you can get to Judges. I'll mention this and then we'll go. But when they slacked up about this, then they got in trouble. Judges is in my Bible. I promise it is. Judges is before Ruth. Apparently I had my finger on it the whole time. But when they slacked up about the way they were teaching and the way they were training, that's really when they got in trouble. Because in Judges, it says that there arose a generation. This is Judges 2:10, and it says, and also all that generation were gathered to their father, so that generation passed on. It says, and there arose another generation after them who did not know, did not recognize or understand the Lord, or even the work which he had done for Israel. So as parents, as influencers over children, as grandparents, it's so important that we are sure that our children know the Lord, that they recognize him, that they know his works, and that they see it in our everyday lives. Because God forbid that another generation arise that does not know him. And that you know, I think that was, sometimes it's easy to say, well played, Satan, well played. Because I do think that in the beginning of Corona, the church was like, okay, and that was it. Because I mean, we really didn't know what to do, and we were shocked in
yeah, it happened so quickly.
Well played. And so it was much easier to sit back. It was much easier to not go. It was much easier to, even now as things are opening back up and coming back around, it's easier to just say, you know what, we really like relaxing on Sunday morning, and we can just watch church in our pajamas.
I know I've heard so many people say it's hard to get out of, you know, staying at home, and it is, but that's also a tactic of Satan to distract you. I mean,
well, if you can get out of your bed on Monday morning, then you can get up for the Lord. We have to recognize
that for what it is, and do not forsake the assembly.
Yeah. Well, and us, you know, there's just no better sleep than on Sunday morning, and I'm like, how late can we push it? And the Lord has ever so kindly said to me, how late do you need to push it?
This is my day.
What is more important?
Yeah.
And that's one thing that we'll get into tomorrow, because it's time to go. We'll see you then. Bye, y'all.